As-salaamalaikum dosto! Welcome to Desified Dish. My name is Reiko. Eid Mubarak! So to everyone celebrating, I wish you and your families love, laughter and happiness. So with the holy month of Ramadan coming to a close, I wanted to put together a special dish for iftar tonight, something that's been on my list of things to make for a really long time. I speak, of course, of Nihari, a slow-cooked beef dish originating in Lucknow, India, which came about during the Mughal Empire and has since become really popular in Pakistan. So to mop up the rich, oily gravy that this dish is known for, I'm also going to try my hand at shawarma, which is kind of similar to naan, but it does have cardamom, rosewater and saffron in the flavorings, and it's also a little bit flatter and actually cooked in the oven, so it should be a little bit different to naan as well. So I'm kind of excited to give it a go. However, I'm not going to share this process today. You'll have to wait for another video for that one, but don't worry, I'll get to it. So it has quite the list of ingredients to put together and quite a long cooking time, probably around 6 to 8 hours. So we better cue the music and get started. Alright, so I'm also going to need some ghee, so let's get some of it out. Oh no, empty! But that's okay, fear not, we can always make some more. All we need is unsalted butter, so we're also going to make some of that. So given that this is not a video on making ghee, I'll just fast forward through the process. If you'd be interested in seeing a more detailed video, let me know. It looks like a lot of steps, but it actually only takes less than 10 minutes to get this done. The only tricky part really is trying to work out exactly when the milk solids are cooked enough on the bottom of the pan. Ta-da! Liquid gold! So let's bung it in a jar, and now we have Desified ghee. Now on to the actual Nihari prep. So I'm going to start by making the Nihari Masala. Now, of course, I could just go ahead and buy this, but you know, it's more fun when you get to make it yourself. So this will make 1 tablespoon, just enough for the Nihari. So we're going to need 1 teaspoon of Kashmiri red chili powder, a small black cardamom pod, 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg powder, 2 centimeters of long pepper, 1/4 teaspoon of fennel seeds, 1/4 teaspoon of garam masala, 1/4 teaspoon of ginger powder, 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder. I'm using my homemade red onion. 1/8 teaspoon of shahi jira, also known as caraway seeds. 1/8 teaspoon of kalonji, also known as nigella seeds, and a pinch of raw sugar. So I've put all this in my spice grinder, which is actually a coffee grinder, but shh, don't tell anyone. And we're just going to grind this into a fine powder. So many jars! I've never seen my spice shelf so empty before, but this is what we're going to need for the actual Nihari. So using my mortar and pestle, I'm going to grind up the whole spices in the ground spices list. I hope that makes sense. 2 whole cloves, 3 green cardamom pods, just the seeds removed, and 1/2 teaspoon of fennel seeds. And now the powdered spices. 1/2 teaspoon of paprika, 1/2 teaspoon of coriander powder, 1/2 teaspoon of cumin powder, 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric, 1/2 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, 1/2 teaspoon of red chili powder, 1/4 teaspoon of chili flakes, 1/8 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper powder, which unfortunately I lost the footage for, but trust me, it's in there, a pinch of nutmeg, and our homemade Nihari Masala from earlier. And now on to our aromatics. So I've already taken some peel off this ginger. It's about 2 centimeters worth, and I'm just going to put that in my mortar and pestle. And then the garlic, you'll probably need about 5 to 6 cloves. My ones are quite big though, so I only used about 4. I'm just going to cut the ends off and then lift off the skin, and then again throw those in my mortar and pestle. Now I'm going to mash these up until I get a ginger garlic paste. Next, my brown onion. So I'm just going to cut this into thin slices. And now onto the meat. So I unfortunately could not find shank. You'd need about 500 grams or so, so instead I'm using this chuck. It does have a little bit of bone, so this is about 700 grams including. So I'm just going to cut these into about 3 centimeter chunks. I didn't bother removing any of the fat because we're going to be slow cooking this, so a lot of that's going to render out into our gravy and make it even more delicious. Alright, our prep is done, so now onto the cooking. So over to my hot plate, I'm going to add my saute pan, set the heat to medium, and then once this gets hot, I'm going to add 1/3 of a cup of canola oil and 1 tablespoon of my Desified ghee. Now that my oil is heated, I'm going to add my whole spices, half a small star anise, 2 small bay leaves, and a 2.5 centimeter piece of cinnamon stick, and I'm just going to saute these for a few seconds. Now we'll add in our onions and we're going to saute these for about 5 to 6 minutes. We want to get a nice deep golden color on them. Now I'm going to add my mashed ginger and garlic and saute this for about 20 seconds or so, or until the raw smell goes off. Now I'm going to add in my chunks, that's a mouthful, and cook this for about 5 minutes or so. We're just wanting to get the outside nice and brown. So that meat's pretty much done. So I'm going to go ahead and chuck in the bone because there's some meat on here I couldn't quite get off while I was cutting, and this will brown really quickly and probably impart some extra flavor to our nihari. Now I'll add in my powdered spices. Give this a good mix around to make sure the meat is well coated, and toast these for about 20 seconds or so. Alright, and that concludes the fast part of the cooking process. Now I'm just gonna slow things down a little bit. By which I mean we're going to add our cooked mixture into our slow cooker. So I've set my slow cooker to high, and I'm now going to add 3.5 cups of boiling water. You can of course just use regular tap water, but this just makes the process start up a little bit quicker since the slow cooker won't have to slowly heat up the water. It's already hot. I've got to film this, but make sure you also add the salt, 1.5 teaspoons. I'm just going to give things a little bit of a stir and then pop the lid on and leave the nihari to bubble in its own juices for about 6 hours. See you then. Time to check in and see how the nihari is going. It's looking pretty soft, but I reckon it could get a little better, so I'm going to leave it for another hour. Alright, it's now been 7 hours cooking time in total, and as you can see the oil is sitting on the surface. This is probably a pretty good indication that the meat is cooked, but let's do a shredding test with a couple of forks and just check it. And look at that, just falling apart beautifully. This is definitely cooked. But there's one last thing we need to do before the nihari is ready, so we need to thicken the gravy. So we're going to take out a cup of the water. Try your best, because the pieces got quite small at this point. It was a little bit difficult, so I had to really fish around for it. Alright, so I've measured out 1/4 cup of whole wheat flour or atta into a medium bowl, and I'm just going to pour in a little at a time some of the gravy water and then use a whisk to combine it together until I end up with a nice smooth mixture. Now back over to my slow cooker, I'm going to add in the flour slurry and give this a good mixing around because again I want to avoid any lumps, and we're going to leave this to cook for another 30 minutes, and by then the gravy should be plenty thick. Oh, well, the nihari is still cooking, won't be done quite yet but almost there, but the sun is well and truly set, so I thought it's definitely time to break my fast. So I've got some dates here. Delicious, and fasting just makes you appreciate dates so much more. Anyway, I better get back to it. See you soon. And with that, the cooking is done. So let's plate this lovely nihari up. And look at that. Looks incredible. I can't wait to eat this. But the nihari is not complete without garnishings. So I'm going to add some fresh coriander, some julienned ginger, some freshly chopped green chilies, because you know I like it spicy, and a good squeeze of lemon juice because that zestiness is really going to enhance the flavor of this. And the nihari is now ready to serve. Just before we get into the tasting, I thought I'd also show you the shomel that I made, and as you can see, it turned out really well. It's slightly risen. It's got a beautiful crispy top. It looks amazing, and I'm sure it's going to complement the Nihari perfectly. But again, that'll be a focus of another video. Alright, we are back and the cooking is finally done. So I present to you Nihari. Oh, and it smells incredible. There's so much spices going on, but it smells oily, beefy, and delicious. But let's give it a go. Oh, and the gravy is so beautifully thick and oily as well. It looks delicious. Let's give it a go. Oh. All right, that is incredible. The flavor is so rich. It's just amazing and delicious. This is definitely one I'm gonna make again sometime. Can Illustrator Reiko get a word in, please? Unrelated to cooking, but another little thing I did to mark the occasion was craft this little illustration here. And it's got a cute little detail as well. So if you go into the bottom left corner over here, let me just zoom in. You'll see that this uncle here is eating shamal and Nihari. I hope you like it. If you're interested to see more information about the illustration and the progress, you can check out my Instagram or Facebook, Reiko Ellis Art, to see all the information. Thanks. And now back to the outro. Anyway, I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Please, if you enjoyed the video, please like it and consider subscribing to see more of this content and see what dishes I try next. Anyway, I'll catch you next time.